Hello, this is Elizabeth and Elton Brewington with Discover Brightside, and we are here with Barry Cohen. And I love it when I meet advertising people because that was my past life, and I am so interested in learning about his career in radio. And from radio to becoming a publisher to help all you first time authors. So he can actually lend a lot. So pay attention to this interview from the beginning to the end and write us a comment and tell us what you think. So, Barry, you've had an illustrious life. So, share your story and tell us
Sure.
about you.
Yes. So, as you mentioned, I started in radio advertising for small stations, learned my trade, worked my way up to big New York stations, and then managed a small station in the state of Virginia as well. But along the way, learned audio production, learned voiceover work as well. But again, kind of true to form, I'll be and always be remain a copywriter. So I bring my copywriting skills into the publishing side. So along the way, well, in this career, I transitioned from the radio business to the ad agency business. And we had started Ad Lab as an audio video production house and as an agency. And we were, buying media and creating campaigns for clients, mostly small emerging brands of natural consumer products. And along the way, I succeeded in becoming an author myself, getting published, and then promoted the heck out of my work because that's what I do. And next thing you know, people just started coming at me right and left, asking for help with their book projects. And it evolved to where once my business partner died an untimely death, I shut down the studios and offices and shifted my focus primarily to helping other aspiring writers to get their work out. But what I want your audience to know is that it's not a straight and narrow path. It's a convoluted path. So, when I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a writer. And my mother used to say to me, collect your rejection slips. And she was right. I did. I would send articles out to magazines and they get rejected. What I learned along the way was that once you become an expert at something, then people will be coming to you and asking you to write for them. And that's kind of how I started. The radio trade publications had me writing columns for them, Radio and Records and the Radio Inc. magazine. And then somewhere along the way, again, I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to put my advertising background into play. And I created the first book, which was 10 Ways to Screw Up an Ad Campaign. And I had both the Radio Advertising Bureau and the National Association of Broadcasters here in the States selling the book on their, in their website, online store, and also at their conferences and live events, whether I was speaking there or not. Um, but here's the thing about the publishing journey, and this is, like I said, a bit convoluted. So the first book, I actually had a traditional publishing contract with Entrepreneur Magazine's book division. I go all the way through the process, right? 6 months shy of the release date, they hire a new book editor, right? And the book division editor comes in wholesale, cancels a whole bunch of projects, including mine. Well, where do you go from here? Right. So fortunately, I negotiated reversion rights in the contract, which weren't in there originally, which meant that, if the book ever goes out of print, rights come back to me. The contract also said that as long as I deliver the final product, I get to keep the advance. So I walked away with the money and the rights. I self-published it. I promoted the heck out of it. And then I went to the book expo in New York City at the Javits Center. And I trolled the booths of those that did business trade paperback, right? And I picked up just a half a dozen cards of editors, sent them query letters, and I got a bite from a company up in Boston area called Adams Media. And Adams said, "Send us the self-published version, send us the press kit." They looked at it and they said, "We'll take it. We just want you to update it." So I got a second advance, a second contract on the same book, right? And then I got another contract with them to do a follow-up second book, right? Well, as time goes on, here's what happens. Fast forward, smaller publishing houses don't keep a big backlist of older titles. So I'm at a crossroads again where the rights are going to revert back to me and I can either let it die, self-publish it, or resell it to another publisher. Well, you know what? Somewhere up there, somebody decided for me. I didn't have to make the decision. Turns out that Adams Media was spun off from its parent company, F&W in Cincinnati, and sold to Simon Schuster. So my two titles went over to Simon Schuster, right? Meanwhile, right, Adam's parent company F&W goes bankrupt, right? You can't make this stuff up, right? So here's the silver lining to the cloud. The gentleman that came over to um, entrepreneur that canceled the book originally came from Adams. So it's a big circle. In any case, all that said, I got the books out and then began, like I said, helping other authors. Now, along the way, one of the things that came up was, self-publishing is dynamic, right? It is viable and you know, it's gone big time. The major legacy publishers didn't think it was going to hurt them until the millionth book rolled off the presses, at which time they then began buying stakes in those self-publishing companies, right? Well, I also made the acquaintance of a gentleman that endorsed one of my books, who was in very high places in publishing. He had been the publisher of Marvel. He was in charge of Reader's Digest books at one time. He was with Scholastic Magazine, with Saturday Evening Post, and he had this little ebook company out of Key West, Florida. And I said, you've got all these different genres of books, but you don't have much in the way of business books. I have a whole stable of business book authors. What do you say we launch a joint imprint? And that's when Mentor Business Books started. All right. Well, fast forward again, he decides that he's going to retire. He was a mystery writer himself. He wanted to work on his own books, and after COVID, he wanted to go back to doing his mystery fair that he used to do in Key West. So he sold the company. Well, selling the company meant that somebody in New York with another publishing house bought out all of our contracts, 637 of them to be exact. So it took a while before I could connect with the new gentleman. So now I have the ability to put my authors, I give them an option, not an obligation, but an option to get traditionally published if they work with me as their editor or their publicist. So that's a mouthful, I realize.
That is incredible though, because many people write books and then they can't market the books. So having that traditional background can help them with marketing, and then self-publishing can be easier on people.
Right.
So that is a real added advantage that I can see. And that is absolutely fabulous. So how can people find you, and where can they connect with you, and what's this first step for a
Okay.
new
All right.
author?
So, right. So I am on LinkedIn. I don't really do a lot on Facebook, but I am there. Best way is directly through email. The email that I use most often is publicist740 at gmail.com. They're welcome to email me directly by all means. Um, and I'm happy to help, give people just some guidance on what the publishing landscape looks like and what their options are. All right. Because again, what I want people to know is that their chances of getting a contract with a big traditional legacy publisher are next to none, right? They're not interested in new talent. They slam the door on new talent because the economies are not there for them to make money. They only make money on scandal tell-alls or celebrity books. That's the reality. They don't. So they lose money on too many books. It's not like the movie business where, there's so much money in it that they can afford to lose it.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so really the opportunity is either in self-publishing or small niche publishers.
Hmm.
And that's really the way to go. But uh, self-publishing has gained a lot of respect now, and what people need to understand is the process has changed too. And technology has done that. You know, print on demand rules now. Right? You don't have to buy a garage full of books and figure out what to do with them now. Every single copy is printed, bound, shipped as ordered in an automated process. So if I make the mistake of ordering 10 when I want 100 for a speaking engagement, I actually have to go back and order 90 more because they're
Yeah,
already in progress.
true, 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 true. I love it. I really love what you do. And you're right. The world has changed completely. And Facebook and LinkedIn, is fantastic, especially for book authors. I mean, where else could you just put it up there and sell like a million copies, in one day? Now, there have been authors that have done it. Now, some
Yes.
authors have not done it, but we have talked to a lot of authors that have said that just Facebook alone sold books. So one of the things that we do is videos, so the algorithms and reviews, because we feel like if you want to be in this new age of digital world, you've got to have reviews in order for your books to go up. Because even when you launch your book on Amazon, the very day that you launch it, you need 20 reviews to be a best-selling author on Amazon. So like things like that really make an impact. So give us some. So tell me some marketing tips for new authors? I mean, what are the best ways for them to market their books and themselves?
Right. Well, all right, there's two things I always tell all my authors. The times when you're going to sell the most books are number one, if you're in the room with people and you inspire them, right? You've got to get out and do speaking engagements, webinars, etc., but especially live in-person events, whether it's at conferences or what have you. So that's number one, right? You'll sell the most books when you inspire people in the room. Number two is getting an organization, as I did, behind you to resell those books. Right? For example, CBS Radio in New York did a business breakfast for many years, right? And on your, at your table, on your place, you would find a book with a little sticker on it, compliments of CBS, right? Or as I said, the Radio Advertising Bureau, National Association of Broadcasters, selling my books, right, through their website and to their, at their events, at their live events. That's the second way to really sell volume. It's, I have one author that every time he does a corporate, speaking engagement, it's good for, a couple hundred books. So those are the two things that I recommend, especially for nonfiction authors. Now, when it comes to fiction, it's a different animal. It really is. Fiction involves, uh, getting into the community, so to speak, where people find themselves. Whether it's a Facebook group or, again, whether it's a conference. If you're, going to Comic-Con, for example, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Because you no longer have the bookstore where people walk in there and they read there. But you still have the bookstores, but the new online world is no longer bookstores, but Facebook groups, LinkedIn
Right.
groups, where you can actually meet people. So I totally agree.
Yeah,
That
let me make this point if I may. What people need
yeah.
to understand is that it's not about your website, it's about your overall online presence. So what do I mean by that? If they don't know you, they don't know your book title, they don't know your, company name or anything, how are they going to find you? They're going to find you by search. Well, what are they searching for? They're searching your subject matter. So in order to find you, right? If they don't know your URL, your website address, that's not going to help. They need to search your subject matter. And you want to make sure that if they search your subject matter, you pop up. So, how do we make that happen? By having more content about you in more places around the web that then link back to your site. Your site is the mothership, so to speak, but you need those satellites. So, how do you do that? Well, again, whether it's speaking engagements, whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's you know, uh, Facebook posts, whether it's podcast interviews, right, blog posts, all of those things will then, enlarge your digital footprint and then link back to your site.
So definitely come to Discover Brightside and podcasters because that is where you get your visibility as well. So thank you so much, Barry, for this interview. I really, really appreciate it and your expertise and advice. I hope you're going to be a big part of our community, and we'll talk to you about that in a minute. Make sure you get his books, get his advice. How do people get in touch with you? You said LinkedIn. Do you make an appointment with you? What is the process?
Yeah, the best thing is to email first and set up a Zoom call. That's really the best way to do it because I work with people all over. Doesn't matter where they are. So once again, I'll just repeat the best email to use is publicist740@gmail.com. And I'll respond to those, within 24 hours.
Fantastic. So there you have it, and I'll make sure it's available in the comment section as well. Get your appointment, get started on your book. It is almost the new year. We are almost in the third month now, but you can still get your book done in 2026. Thank you for watching Discover Bright Side and go write a review about Barry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm trying to